first is thank Peter for doing this. In my opinion, it's long overdue. And I really hope it's something that we can continue on with next year and in the years to come, not just a COVID thing. So thank you, Peter, for doing it.
You.
You know, when he asked me to present, I looked at the other guys that were doing stuff and the program building and stuff, and I can't compete with those guys. I've stolen most of their ideas anyways. And I think if there's one thing I've learned from doing this, it's steal whatever you can steal, because some people are doing some pretty great stuff. So I hope you can use some of this inside zone RPO stuff. It's basic stuff, but I think at least for us, it works. So just briefly a little bit about our program. We're in Burlington, obviously. Fairly small school by current standards, I think. You know, the enrollment's a bit misleading. We don't have a ton of athletes, but we seem to do okay in our area. And I think that's thanks to, you know, some of the summer football. It's not quite what it used to be. And so we're having to work a little bit harder now for development. We are an academic school. And it's funny that poll just went up, because I think, you know, at our place, a lot of our guys graduate after 4 years. We don't have a lot of fifth-year returners. I guess it's a good thing that they're smart and they're getting out, but, you know, it's tough to lose guys, you know, with another year of eligibility left. You know, I walked into, in 2005, a pretty successful football program. I'm not going to lie. You know, so I can't take credit for it. I've tried to make it better since I've been there and bring a different spin on some things. And certainly since I've taken over as the head coach, I've been fortunate to be blessed with a pretty good infrastructure already in place. So, you know, over the last decade, won the league title 5 times, been at the OFSA championships 3 times in the last 10 years, over 50 players on to play at U Sports. And again, if you go back, you know, to the 90s, I mean, Nelson is a perennial OFSA contender. And so that's something that was important to me to keep that going. And I think it's also important to honor the guys that have been there before you and keep the standard high. So we're talking about inside zone and RPOs and our offensive philosophy at Nelson. Well, I think when you're talking about offensive philosophy, there's 2 things that are going to dictate it for you. And certainly when we sat back and looked at things, your players obviously are going to dictate what you do. And, you know, we've been double tight ends before, but we're starting to find that, you know, on the most part, our O-line and D-line are not very big. And so to just line up and try to power the football at people just wasn't something that we thought was going to be successful for us in the long term. Smaller linemen, but technically skilled linemen that lack size. And so that started to guide a little bit of our offensive philosophy. The other thing that guided it was we had a ton of talent at the skill positions. And I'm not sure why the change. My personal belief is the growth of flag football, especially among youth. I mean, the youth that are coming up now, throwing and catching the football. And that is the type of player we're trying to attract to the game now. And we just found that we had too much skill to not try to get those guys onto the field and get the ball in their hands. The other thing that was huge for us, and I do realize we're very fortunate at Nelson, was our coaching staff. We have large numbers on our coaching staff, and quite frankly, I would put our coaching staff up expertise-wise against anybody. So when we're looking at the players, I mean, certainly to run spread, you have to have quarterbacks, and we have been blessed with 4 outstanding quarterbacks. So the guy on the left really needs no introduction. In my opinion, injuries cost him a chance at becoming the first real Canadian superstar at quarterback. You know, and it was sad to see the way his career ended. But we moved on from him at Nelson, and we've had three more outstanding quarterbacks. And the one thing they could do is they could all fire the football. They were not afraid to run with the ball. And when it came to football and understanding plays, they had a pretty good understanding of what we wanted to do. And certainly our last guy, Keegan, that just graduated, second to none in terms of an outstanding young man. And, you know, our guy that would have been the quarterback this year would have been another in that line. And like all of you, I'm really not sure what's going to happen when we finally do get back. Sometimes I like to call us Receiver U. You know, I don't think there's another high school around that can match the receiver talent that's come out of Nelson over the past 10 years. And certainly the Corby brothers and the young Corby now with a chance at the CFL draft and a few more on their way to McMaster, you know, I think is going to keep the receiver talent going at Nelson. And so why do we run a spread offense? Because we had a bunch of studs we had to get on the field and try to get the ball to. And like I mentioned, coaching staff, you know, take a look at the names on the list. It just doesn't come any better. Nick Malukis, our junior coach, has been the junior coach at Nelson for nearly 30 years. And I'm going to tell you that the best way to have a successful senior football program is to have a good junior program, because he starts them out. He always says to me, you know, the most important thing I can do is figure out whether guys want to tackle and whether they're tough. And that's true. And certainly we've been on Nick over the years and he's adapted his style and will throw the ball a little bit more than he ever did at junior. You know, Will's dad, Mike, has been the quarterback coach there for the past 10 years. My father, Brian, does the offensive line and brings a ton of experience. Josh Vanderweerd was a Vanier Cup appearing receiver 3 times at McMaster. Randy Hoffner's been in the BMFA for years, and certainly the addition of Neil Lumsden to the offense is only going to make things better. So spread offense. For us, that really means 5 receiver, 1 running back. And we're primarily focused then on inside and outside zone and pin and pull scheme runs. So traps, kicks, counter, tray, and power. And if we have to line up and go 2 back, we will. But certainly we've found that misdirection and using motion to gain advantages was what was going to make us successful over the past few years with the guys we have. The only way you can do this is to be good at pass protection. And so as a pass protecting team, we have been quite good considering an undersized lineman. So inside zone. I'm going to buzz through some stuff quickly here because, you know, inside zone, I could take hours on this. So for us, usually in spring camp, this would become our very first play that's installed. Okay, so 32, 33 zone read would be our first play that we install. In terms of the formation, 5 wide receivers for us. This formation for us would be called nickel left. So we call the 5th receiver, or this guy here would be called the nickel, and we would call this formation nickel left. I've been on teams where he was called the Raptor, the Crusader, whatever. You can call him whatever you want. So that was an easy way for us to call the side of the formation. The back alignment for us would be pistol. So quarterback, heels are at about 5 yards. We liked him at 5. We had the tailback at 7. That would be called pistol for us. We're running 33 zone here. So the formation call would be pistol right, which would tell the tailback he was lined up in the pistol and taking the handoff on the right. Okay, so the full play call here would be nickel left, pistol right, 33 zone read. And as we started to get going during the season and the running backs got a little bit smarter, we would cut the pistol part out of it. They would just know which way to go. And I think the benefit for us of using inside zone and the RPOs off it is that the blocking for the offensive line stays exactly the same. So we all know it's tough for guys to remember what to do. Well, this series of plays keeps things exactly the same. So running it against an odd front, this is going the other way, 32 zone. So this would be for us pistol left, 32 zone. As soon as you run it against an odd front, you're going to get a double team. So 1 or 2 based on where and how the alignment looks. And so, you know, it just sort of would depend. And we didn't get a lot of odd front looks against a spread offense because we were able to then pick on the linebackers that were in coverage. And so we would get a more traditional lineup on defense. So briefly, some of the teaching points for each position, and certainly the quarterback coach could spend an hour on quarterback teaching points, and so on running back, receivers, and our O-line coach probably 2 hours on them. So I want to go through them quickly, but just so we can get to them. So I've put a picture in here that, you know, tries to illustrate some of the things we're talking about. And so the first thing, the quarterback is really going to set the handoff angle for the running back. So the most important guy in the play right now is the quarterback. If he doesn't step properly or he's lined up too far over, he pushes off the back's alignment and he really throws the play off. And so we spend a lot of time early on in training camp just with the quarterback on air, and then we'll bring the running back over, and quarterback and running back will work on this constantly. So his first step is a drop step with his right foot. So you can see Keegan there with the ball. His right foot will step back and out of the way. So he almost steps out of the way for the running back to come through. His hand placement, 2 hands on the football, and it's a firm grip. Right. One of the reasons that the zone can go haywire on you is is fumbles. And so it's the quarterback's responsibility to protect the ball while he's continuing through the fake. Okay. His eyes go immediately to his read, which would be the backside edge rusher. So it could be the backside defensive end. It could be the will linebacker, depending on their alignment, but we're going to turn the backside edge rusher free. And that's the quarterback's man to read. Okay, so as he steps back and takes his drop step, his eyes go right to that defender. And then we want him to ride the mesh. Okay, so he's going to ride the mesh with his weight on from his back foot to his front foot, and he's going to guide through. So we want him to ride the mesh as long as he possibly can. Okay, and one of the things we have to continue to work on with our quarterback is when he just yanks the ball out too quick, he hasn't influenced that edge rusher to crash down and try to pick up the back. So we really want him to ride it as long as he can. And he's reading while he rides it. Okay. And his eyes are on that end. And, you know, we would do drills where we just have a coach, you know, stay out there, chase the run, and he's got to work on the ride mesh. Okay. Early on, I think when we're teaching it too, we have the quarterback yell go when he's left the ball for the back. So the back starts to understand the different feeling between the ride mesh and when the quarterback is going to actually stick the ball and give it to him. Because we want our back focused on where he's going, not worrying about the handoff. And then we would ask our quarterback to carry out some type of fake afterwards. And I think most important for quarterbacks to learn is when they're in doubt, give the ball. And you're going to see some clips later where the quarterback wants to run. You know, I'm not a big advocate of our quarterback running all the time. And certainly at schools where you've got one quarterback and you're in trouble if he gets hurt. I mean, his running has to be limited. So that's what we're going to ask from our quarterback. Our running back. Okay, our running back. He's going to step with his left foot first. So this picture here would be 33 zone. Okay. And he's most of the way through the ride mesh here. You could see Keegan, the quarterback, has already transferred his weight to the front foot. Okay. The back's eyes are on the front side A gap, and that's where we want him to aim for 33 zone. Okay. So we teach the running back on the mesh that we want him to fold over the ball, but I don't want him to grab it out of the quarterback's hand. He folds and he allows the quarterback's arms to ride with him as he's moving. Okay. Then we want him to press the hole. And I think, a good teaching point for zone is at this point in the play in that picture, maybe the hole doesn't look like it's open. Maybe the linemen are still coming off a double team, but if he presses the hole for another couple of seconds, things will open up for him. And too quick, we've got a back that wants to just bounce to the outside and take off instead of trusting that our blocking scheme is going to work for him. So we want him to press the hole. And then the terms bang it or bend it. He's either going to bang it right in the hole where we want it, or he's going to bend it and look for the cutback lane. Okay. Inside zone is not a play where we want the back to bounce it outside. We want him to stick it up inside or look for the cutback angle. But it is also a play where it's hard to tell the back where to go. It's a play where you just got to trust your back has a feel for what's going on, and he's going to go where he sees the opening. We also have something that we would do as a change up on the handoff. And so I listened to Coach Craney last week talk about, well, when the back line's up on the right of the quarterback, most of the time he's going to the left. Well, sometimes we'll call, 33 zone ugly. Okay. And the running back will go to the same side as where the play is going, and it'll be an ugly looking handoff. So he takes the handoff and goes the same way. So just some ways to change it up a little bit. But most important is for our back to have some patience. Our receiver group, and you will see on the film that as good as sometimes our receivers looked, they can always be better in blocking. And so the receiver group as a whole, we want inside out blocking. We always want to work inside and try to block out on inside zone. So our play side receivers are always stock blocking on inside zone. The backside receivers are running a pass route because the quarterback can pull the ball on the zone read. And so they have to be ready. And so early on in training camp, you get the receivers that are falling asleep, not paying attention. And so that's something that we're constantly harping on. And our receivers also, I have to identify the 7-man box. And so our linemen can identify the box pretty good, but those inside receivers have to identify where the guy is they need to block. And if he's in the box and our quarterback does an audible to something else, he's got to go in the box and dig the guy out to make his block. Okay. So for the offensive lineman, to keep it really simple for the offensive line, they will always block the front side 5 defenders. So it really doesn't matter where guys are lined up. They count 5 guys and they turn the 6th guy on the backside free for the quarterback or for someone else to take care of. And so a lot of it is looking at film, looking at the looks we might get. Certainly over the past few years, our centers have been very good, and they will make the line call. And early on in training camp, we'll have the guys point at their blocks and we'll identify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We want them to block with their feet and with their hands. And so we've got to move their feet. And a lot of times the linemen don't like to get their feet moving quickly. All 5 linemen, their first step is always to the play side. So that at least gets them going in the right direction. And for some guys, that may be a challenge, getting them to step the right way all at the same time. And so it's constant. We're constantly working on footwork. And their actual steps are going to vary a little bit on the type of block they've got to make. We'll talk about a few of them, but again, that's a whole presentation on line play, and I want to be able to get through everything. Their eyes are always on the linebacker. So even while they're blocking the first level defender, they have to have their eyes on the linebackers. And as a general rule, your best athlete is usually the middle linebacker in high school. Certainly the 3 linebackers are almost always the best 3 athletes on the defense, and we have to understand where they are and where they're moving. When we're working the double team, eyes are always on the linebackers, and the idea that we want our linemen to smell the linebacker's breath. So we tell our linemen not to come off the double team and go chase out to the linebacker. Okay, an athletic linebacker is going to get away from you in space. What we want is we want them to come off that double team at the last second as the linebacker steps into them. Okay. If linebackers step up early, there's no more double team. So the blocks are going to happen a lot quicker at the line. And we did face, you know, some sting pressure and stuff during the season. And so again, film study ahead of time will help the lineman identify. So 33 zone, we're going to block the front side 5. The left tackle takes the end. We're going to have a double team between the center and the guard. And he's number 2 up to number 3. We're going to have the right guard on number 4. The right tackle will identify the edge rusher here if it's the end or the will. If the will is up on the outside as a jet look, we're going to take the end and we're going to turn the will free for the quarterback's read. Okay, so the right tackle, his job is to drive the defensive end out and back, and he'll get out on him. The left guard, he's going to work the front side of the double team. So he's got to try to get out in front, outside of the tackle. And we want him to keep his outside arm free and his eyes right away go to the MAC. Okay. The center will take a scooter step to the play side. He's hoping to take over the double team, but we also want him to overlap and keep an arm free because those two are responsible for the MAC when he comes off, whichever guy's going to come off the double team. And that's a simple, you know, first day offensive line drill, D lineman, 2 guys, linebacker, and we're just working at coming off the double team and taking it over. Our right guard is going to use the reach club because he's got a one technique tackle to get to. And one of the things we have to constantly remind our linemen on zone is we want to avoid cut blocking at all costs because cut blocks will create a pile and it makes it difficult for our back to cut back if there's a lane open. He ends up getting tripped up in the pile. Our right tackle then is going to get up to the will, but again, he has to identify that edge rusher and whichever guy we're going to turn. Our nickel receiver, our inside receiver to the play side, he's got to get Sam. So one of the things we can do to help ourselves to empty the box is motion. And we ask our nickel receiver here, you continue to waggle out and see how far Sam will come. If Sam keeps coming out, keep going out. And then he's out of the box and we've got a nice lane to come right through here. Most of the good Sam linebackers will sort of split the difference between the receiver and the box. And then this guy is taught he must go in and block from inside out to help us. And we'll see some clips in here in a minute. We do find when we run zone weak that we get better angles. Okay, because we're getting, you know, chances are we're going to get 2 double teams. We've got nice angles to get to people. And especially against the odd front, we've got nice angles to get to people. And usually we've had a lot of success running things weak, especially when we motion. And again, we'll motion into quads and run to the single man side. We'll identify whether teams will run a halfback across when we motion to quads. And then we've got, you know, less defenders on that side of the field. So again, playing games with your motion can help you run inside zone as well. So I got a couple of video clips here. So this is, for us, 33 zone read. So it would be pistol, right, 33 zone read, and the formation is nickel left. Okay, and so a couple things here. Our nickel receiver should be identifying his block, who is this guy with the towel hanging out of his pants. And okay, he doesn't do a great job on him. Okay, we're going to number off. So he's not in the count. He's not a box player for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to turn the outside edge rusher free on the backside. Okay. So 33 zone read. Okay. So our quarterback's eyes are on the edge rusher. We've done an okay job here, but we're starting to lose him. He should be going after number 1. We've got a good double here. We'll chip off to Mac. Our tackle is coming out after Will. You know, and basically based on this read, he could probably pull the ball as well. Okay, he chooses to give it, and we get a nice little run out of it. Okay. And so, again, you know, having a good quarterback, but a smart quarterback helps. So here we go again. This is the same play. Okay. But it's out of quads. So quads left, 33 zone read. Okay. This guy is the guy we're going to turn loose and read off of. These guys are all responsible for their guys. Our backside receiver has to come in. This is the halfback chasing across. And so now our quarterback thinks he sees an opening. Okay. And we've got him. So one step inside by that defensive end, our quarterback has him. And we've got a nice run lane outside. This play will illustrate one of the reasons why I'm always hesitant to let my quarterback run. Everything looks fantastic here until we get this. If he had just kept coming outside, we were in good shape. Not what we want to do as a quarterback and cut back inside, but the play was set up for us. He made the correct read. He pulled the ball and he got a good run. So how do we take care of that backside defensive end? And these two will set up RPOs for us. So we have what we'll call add-ons and modifiers. So instead of reading the backside edge rusher, we will saw block the backside edge rusher with the inside slot from the play side. So he's going to come across and kick the backside end out. We will also bomber the backside slot with the backside, we'll bomber the backside defensive end with the backside slot. So saw for us means inside receiver coming across the field. A bomber for us means the backside slot back getting involved. Okay, so again, completely different play. Blocking stays exactly the same for the offensive line, which is a nice little feature. Our backside inside receiver is going to come across. He will take care of the end. There is no more read now. It's a straight run play, and our quarterback's going to give it. So 33 zone saw in the snow here. Okay. Our inside receiver is going to come across and make the saw block on the backside end. We're going pistol left 33 zone or 32 zone. Okay. There's our saw block coming across. And we get a nice little run. And this is what we talked about earlier about wanting the running back to be patient and to bang it up the hole, not be too quick to want to bounce out. So again, not a devastating saw block. It does the job. I wish he would come across with a little more force inside out. Okay. The next one, again, another zone saw. We got a nice angle here. Okay, here's the saw blocker again. He's going to come across and saw block on the backside end. This would be 32 zone saw. Okay, again, not a great block, but we've got a nice little running lane created there for our back to get through. Okay, bomber. We were fortunate that our guys were athletic, but they were also pretty smart kids too. So our bombers were good. They sort of knew when to get in. They motion in pre-snap, and they put themselves inside the end, and they're responsible for making sure that defensive end doesn't get into the play. So 32 zone bomber. Okay, 32 zone bomber. There's the bomber at the top. He should have been a little bit earlier and turned out. And one of the things that we're constantly on guys for is to attack. And the receivers don't always like to mix it up. But we want them to be a little bit more aggressive because that helps us, that helps us a little bit later on set up our RPOs. So here we go again, zone bomber. There's the bomber there, and we're always reminding him he comes inside, he's going to take care of that defensive end, and we get a nice push up through the middle. So how do we get to RPOs? Okay, so we will have an RPO off each one of those. Off the zone read, we'll have an RPO. Off the zone saw, we'll have an RPO. And off the zone bomber, we're going to have an RPO. So our RPO game, zone slice works off of zone saw. So that backside slot back that's going to come across and make the saw block, he will slip the defensive end and release into the flat. And so the better job he does on the saw block, and he's come across and drilled that guy, then all of a sudden he slips by him as that guy braces for contact, and he's wide open out in the flat. The peel, our backside slot bomber that was coming in, will block and then release out into the flat, and we'll read it. And then zone robber for us, we will lock the backside tackle on the end, and we'll leave the will unblocked, and our quarterback will read off him. So zone slice for us. And these are all plays where the quarterback has the option to give the ball. So same thing for the offensive line. The blocking stays completely the same. There's just a variation. If our quarterback is in doubt, if the slice guy falls or he gets hung up with the defensive end, our quarterback just hands the ball off, and then we live to see another play. Okay. The slice teaching points for that slot coming across. Everything has to look the same as a zone play because it could be a run, which means our backside receivers have to get in and block and fill in for that saw guy who's coming across. We want the slice receiver to avoid contact. And early on in the year, we had trouble. Our slice receiver wanted to throw the shoulder check in, and that started to disrupt the route. Our quarterback couldn't get a good read off the end, and then we had a trouble. The other thing is we want those receivers that are in the slice area to get out of the way. Deep post, get rid of your guys down the field. Okay? So we'd run zone saw a few times. Here's our saw man here. He's going to come across. Okay, it's slice. He will slip the defensive end out into the flats. Our quarterback is reading over the ear on the edge guy. Okay, and we get a pretty decent completion out of the play. Okay, again, another slice. Here's our slice guy here. He'd been saw blocking out on the edge. Okay, he slips him into the flat, and we get a nice little completion. So that is the RPO off of, there's another one, another slice. Okay, backed up in our own end. We like this play because this was a pretty consistent play for us. Just nice, easy way to get yourself out of trouble, especially if it's man coverage. This guy has a tough time chasing his way through, especially as the linemen start to come up the field. And one of the things I get asked all the time, and I'll just pretend that Scott's not presenting next, you know, how do you not get called for lineman downfield? Well, you know what? We're going to keep doing it till we get called, and then we'll probably keep doing it anyways. Whoops. Okay, so another zone slice. Okay, here was our slice guy. He's going to slip the edge rusher. Okay, I would have liked that more if he didn't get hung up on the edge rusher. But a nice little completion to get us out of a mess backed up in our own end. The peel play. Okay, peel play. Our guy's been coming in a lot, blocking bomber. The end sort of goes to sleep. Okay, and we're going to release him out of the backfield, out of the block. So again, zone blocking stays the same for the lineman. Our bomber really has to sell the block, and the more engaged he is and the harder he wants to block, the more he's going to convince that end to come upfield, and then he just slips him. We want to try to release the defensive end to the inside. Okay, and the same thing, those receivers have to clear the zone for us. Okay, so this one's a little bit tougher to see. Here's our bomber on the backside. He's going to come in to block the backside edge. Okay, he blocks for a second, and then he releases. Okay, and again, we had a nice little group of athletes at wide receiver, and so one of the reasons why we want to get the ball in their hands was things like that. A little 2-yard pass, he turns into a 60-yard touchdown. Okay, here it is again. Okay, here's the bomber. He's going to come in. He's going to block. He'll release, and we're outside with a nice little gain. And again, if that receiver's coming in to do that on pass protection, things start to look the same. Okay, and that's a key for our receivers to make everything look the same. The zone robber is kind of the next level RPO, and my poor Buffalo Bills got robbered to death by the Chiefs. And there's a great little YouTube video of the Chiefs running this exact same play over and over against Buffalo and just killing them. This play works. Okay, this play works. Traditionally, the high school linebacker wants to come downhill and smack you, and we want to play off the aggressiveness of the will linebacker. And again, it's something we can study on film, which guy we want to be reading. And so we want to read the will linebacker. We're going to lock call the backside end. So the tackle will take him. We're going to leave the will unblocked. Our quarterback, as he's riding the fake, his eyes are on the will. If the will steps up to play the run, we're throwing the slant right over his head. Okay. And we're confident that our receivers can win a one-on-one slant battle every time. So simple man route. You got to beat the guy in front of you. And this will be wide open all the time. So take advantage of the downhill linebacker. We must make the lock call on the backside end. And so sometimes that took some reminding because we don't want our quarterback to get smoked. And we expect our guy to win the slant pattern every time. So Jackson Cooling off to McMaster here in the yellow shoes. Put him up against anybody. Okay, this would be 33 zone robber. Okay, we're already in good shape because they're bringing the pressure. So you know the linebacker is going to come. If he was sitting back, the read has already been taken care of for us. Okay, he's up. We should be able to win the slant battle here. Okay, so nice ride fake. We're throwing the slant and a great little gain from our receiver. And we had a ton of success with Robert throughout the season, just taking advantage of aggressive linebackers. So here we go again. Same guy, pistol right, 33 zone robber. He's got to beat his guy in the slant. This guy right here, okay, is the will linebacker. He is the guy we're going to rob or we're going to read off of. Quarterback's eyes will be on the will linebacker as we go. Here comes the will. Okay. We know we've got him. He does a great job of selling it. Easy little touchdown. Okay. You've got to have receivers that aren't afraid to go over the middle. Okay. And then as we progress a little bit, we will add in the slice motion with that saw guy coming across. But we're still robbering on the backside. And it was just another thing. And we found that as teams started to understand what we were doing, and this was assumption in the bowl game, so people had seen lots of video on us. Okay. So we added this motion here. He's going to come out on slice. Okay. We're reading again, this linebacker. He's going to chase the slice play coming out. Our quarterback is watching him the whole time. And we're just going to hit the slant, peeling in behind him right here. Okay, so there was the read. He chased here. Nice, easy little throw here. Okay, and again, good athletes can always make a coach look good, even when he doesn't call the right stuff. I know I'm a bit tight for time. I think just a couple more. Okay, another slice robber. So he's coming across. Here's the guy we're reading. Quarterback's eyes are on the will linebacker. We're going to be pistol left, 32 zone slice robber. Okay. Here's the robber. And he would always remind this guy, you're the robber. He should win that slant battle all day long. Okay. A little bit better throw, and we're probably a little bit smoother into the end zone. But again, hey, just get the ball into the athlete's hands and let them do the work for you. Okay. Our three progressions of robber then, we started out calling it from the huddle. So I would call it in 32 zone robber. Okay. We did get to a point at times where our quarterback could call it on the line. So we have an audible call. If we were in a zone call, he could audible to the robber if he liked the look. We tended not to go to just letting the quarterback do it on his own. Because obviously we're not going to block the backside end. And if he's not getting the ball out of there quick, he's going to get smoked. And so we stuck primarily with calling it in the huddle or an audible call on the line so everybody knew what we were doing. Quite frankly, you can add Robert to any run play. We added it to counter Trey. You could add it to anything. As long as your receiver knows what he's supposed to do, he can win a man route. I mean, you can really take advantage of aggressive linebackers. I'm sure there's probably some questions. I tried to blow through some of that pretty quickly. So I hope I didn't go over time.